I feel like making something up tempo. That's what I feel like doing. So that's what we're going to do. What's going on, guys? It's your brother O.T.G. The O.T.G's for Overtime Grind. Hardly seen, but I'm always around. And today we are on the MPC Live 2. You know, just a straight stock. It's not really stock. You know what I mean? Some of these are my drums. Some of it's going to be the MPC plugins. But we just building straight off the MPC standalone with the plugins, you know. I feel like making something up tempo. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment, all of that cool stuff. My channel is demonetized because I like showing you guys how to sample and do other things. So the way that you can support is by just liking, sharing, commenting, watching until the end. You know, you can buy the masterclass from Gumroad. The link will be pinned in the comment. There's a bunch of different ways you could support me outside of watching ads on YouTube. You know what I mean? So today, hopefully you guys see how we start. And this is how the real way you're supposed to utilize your drum kits, just to get you guys in the game if you didn't know. You know, you're supposed to just load up a folder and go through and assign your drums to a pad. I said this yesterday in the video from earlier today. Once the pad turns yellow, that lets you know that the pad has a sound on it. When it's green, that lets you know that that's the pad you're selecting. I kind of have like this West Coast kind of drum in my mind. I want to kind of have like a pretty up tempo, but still kind of chill type of BPM. I think the BPM I have it set at is 105. You know, so right now I'm going to fly through the sounds and look for sounds that kind of go together. That's my methodology, you know what I mean? Like, I use my ears. So once I hear a certain sound and I hear, I guess, the tonality of it or the pitch of it, I try to just keep building off of that sound and try to put a kit together that sounds that way. So I'm going to run through here. You know, I like to grab a 808, a couple kicks, clap, snare, couple hi-hats, a couple percussion. You know, once I get those sounds together, we're going to go over and we're going to color the pads. So I'm going to press the pencil. We're going to go to pad color. I'm going to turn the top to bright velocity. Then we're going to switch that tab over to single pad. I'm going to make all my kicks red, all my claps yellow, all of my hi-hats orange, and all my percussion and other sounds blue. That's something, you don't have to do that. You could choose whatever color scheme you like. But that's been the color scheme since I got the MPC for the most part, you know what I mean? And so I just kind of follow suit to make sure my kits are kind of in that way. Now we're going to go back out to the main. We're going to save this kit as a quick kit. I'm going to save it in my O.T.G drums directory, and that's going to put it in my sounds menu. So then that way I could just swipe out my sounds menu and pull out this kit in the future. You know what I mean? Now that we got something pretty much going, we're going to go make sure that we are set on a poly type of program so we could play multiple sounds at the same time. It says we could do 16. I'm not going to really change that. And, you know, I like to come in hot. We coming in hot. You know what I mean? So I don't really fix the volumes or do too much early on. You know, a lot of gain staging early. I like to just get right to it. So right now we're going to come in, lay our basic clap. You know, we could probably do it with a step sequencer. People hate on the step sequencer inside of the MPC. But I actually like it. We're going to name the track so you can see we're going to name it clap. You know, my methodology of doing this type of stuff is I separate the tracks. And so now that I build as I separate the tracks, one sound per track, because more than likely this is going to be a one sequence beat. You know what I mean? Going to go in, we're going to fix that kick. So, sometimes you want to go back through. If you play off, it'll catch it. Like that time it caught it, but sometimes you could play off and it won't catch it. One of the tips is it's all about where your note repeat is. If your note repeats on 1/16, you go on a 16th grid with your time correct. If you're on a 1/8, you'll be on a 1/8 grid with your time correct. You get what I mean? And so a shortcut to kind of switch in between different parts of the grid is just to switch your timing correct. So right now we're going to do some alternating hi-hats. I think I played one off. I got an extra one in there, but sometimes extras are good mistakes. You know what I mean? I'm not going to spend too long on this video. I'm not going to spend too long on this beat. We're going to probably spend about 20 minutes and get it done. All right, now that we got that lined out, we go through, check any of our other sounds. You know what I mean? We name that hats. We could come through, try our other sound out, probably add that. I like the way the drop feels. The drop always feels good. I like the echo. I like how, and the reverb, I like how that sounds. So we're going to use the water drop and layer that with the clap. Now we're going to come touch down and turn the volume down. Program edit, program edit, program edit. It's always the best and the strongest screen. I don't really like I like the MPC Live too, but one of the most bothersome things for me is that it doesn't have a program edit button. I wish I could turn these plus or minus buttons into it, or turn the shift tap tempo into program edit. I wish we could assign one of these buttons to a pad or something. You know what I mean? So that way I can make it a standalone program edit button. That's part of the reason why I like the MPC one. I utilize the MPC one. I move a lot faster having a program edit. I hate having to press menu or swipe out, but I'm trying to get better with it, trying to get used to it. You know what I mean? So it's definitely something that I am getting used to. You dig? So now we're going to come over to our notes mode, and we're going to choose a chord progression. We're going to make it just a very simple chord progression. We want it, like I say all the time, our main focus is to leave space for the artist to be able to come in and lead vocals. You know what I mean? And so with that being said, we just want to put a very nice, cool chord progression in that plays pretty nicely, and gives a good vibe and doesn't get in the way of what we got going on. You get what I'm saying? And so with that, that's what we're about to do right now. All right, we got that done. The thing with these beats are, sometimes you want to have long notes and then couple it with some short notes. Might be giving you too much sauce. But, you need to understand that each bar's got 16 steps, and in that 16 steps, you could put something in the middle, you could put something in certain places that will give you a different feel, and that also creates pockets. Now, when we use these long notes, we could change the velocity. Normally what I would regularly do is select all and then move all the velocities down at the same time. But what I want to do is get some of the notes. I just want them to be a little bit offset so they have a little bit of a different feel just on these notes themselves. And so I watch a lot of videos, and I noticed that that's something that people don't do enough on the MPC, or they just don't play around enough in beat making, period, is they don't play around with the velocities. A lot of the ways that things sound, it will sound different if you change the velocity. So if you change the velocity on an electric piano, you might get softer notes. You know, it might dampen it, it might add a little bit of character, you know. And now what I'm going to do is stack the piano with a pad, so it sits in the back, you know what I mean? And part of this is just to fill up space and create movement. You know, I like using pads to have movement, especially if I got something up tempo where I have the drums just kind of carrying it. You know, if I have the drums carrying it, I'm not going too crazy with the hi-hats. I have a bunch of stuff, you know, like I got the stomp, I got some other things in the pockets. Then that allows me to create some atmospheric movement with different sounds, you know what I mean? And so once we get to arrangement mode, that's where we can come through and actually turn stuff off, turn stuff on, and you'll start to feel and see that movement. So on this pad, now that I got this pad going, you know, I could either do the same thing, but what I'm going to do now is show you, we're just going to select it all, bring up the velocity, and then we could just bring it all down. You know, the crazy thing about some notes is, you know, for video purposes, I'm not going to take too long, but if this was a beat that I was going to really try to push to somebody or try to make moves with, I would definitely go back and work on that higher note of the pad and make sure that it's even volume wise with everything else. You kind of get what I'm saying? But for video purposes, because I don't really like doing hour-long videos, I'm just now getting right back in the whole thing of creating on camera and coming back and talking over it and, you know, doing all this stuff. You know, I'm just going to keep it breezy. Right now, I'm adding a bass. So this is the Mini D plugin. And for a lot of you guys who talk about plugin limits and all this stuff, I believe this is plugin number 3 or 4. You know, I think I'm going to get 5 total. They say you could have 6, but you could get it done with the 5 or 6. You know what I mean? And worst case scenario, you could always bounce it down to a sample and then bring it back in a drum program and just keep going. The MPC allows you to have 128 MIDI or drum programs, so you know you can really make as many sounds as you want, as much as your memory will hold. You know, it does take some practice getting used to maneuvering with your finger. Over time it'll get better. I used to hate the touch screen. People who know me know I didn't really like operating the touch screen, but the touch screen is imperative to the MPC workflow because the MPC has so many layers. You know, once we start talking about the MPC and what it can do and all of the options that it has, you know, if you look right here on this screen, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 different screens, probably 40 different knobs worth of customization to each sound, just in the OPX or and the Mini D. You know, when you get into the OPX4, I believe it's got like 30 modulators or something. You know what I mean? There's so many ways that you can really alter your sound and create the sound. Like I've said in a couple other videos, if you buy all the MPC plugins, you get over 8,000 or 9,000 patches. You know, and that I just used, Sub 5 and the Mini D, is one of my favorite basses, you know what I mean? Right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some plucks in, you know. These, for me, when I utilize certain sounds, those sounds are utilized to create markers in the beat. Yes, they sound good. Yes, they provide feeling. Yes, they do all of this stuff. But at the same time, like this sound that I'm adding now is going to be a sound to let you know that this is the chorus, this is a bridge, or the chorus is coming. You know what I mean? This is part of a way a producer can talk through the music. You know, when you're creating music, you need to be able to communicate through to the artist or whoever has this music that this part is different than another part, you know. And pretty big about arrangement. Maybe one day I'll do a whole series on arranging. But one thing about arranging is, you know, one thing about arranging is that it's really based on feeling. All of it's based on feeling. Like, people could tell you at 33, 54, at this line, at that line, you know, let's put it together, let's do this, let's do that, you know. But the reality is you need to follow how it feels. You get what I mean? Follow how it feels, and then that is what's going to help you make a proper arrangement. If you don't follow how it feels, you're going to be all over the place, and you're going to have arrangements that don't make sense. One of the best ways to learn how to become better at arranging is to listen to songs that are already completed and listen to how long the verses go. Don't try to time it on a watch. Don't try to time it from here. There's a lot of different things that are going on. The song could be the original BPM could be 140 and they sped it up to 145, then they pitched it up to make it sound good for radio. There's a lot of different things that could go on to trick you if you're trying to watch the clock and see how things go. So what you're going to have to do, what I tell you guys all the time, is you're going to have to actually listen. Use your ears, practice listening, and practice feeling what you're hearing. And you can start to feel how long the beat should be, how long the verse should be, how long the chorus should be, how long the pre-hook should be, and all of this different stuff, right? So right now I got Solina open. I talk about Solina a lot. It's one of those the sleeper plugins. It comes free on the MPC. Everybody has it, but you never really see too many people use it. But if you're trying to get a nice, lush, full sound for your strings, you want full customization. You can see right there, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different tabs. You know, you got different instruments that you can work with. You have all kinds of different things that you could customize, you know. So right now we got 10 sounds total, counting the drums and all the sounds in the drums. We have the bass, the strings, the piano, and the pad, you know, and the harp plug. So we got about 5 sounds as main sounds to create our beat. And then we have 5 drum sounds. Right now, I'm copying this out. I'm going to copy it out to 120 plus bars, but we're not going to use the whole 120 bars. I'll probably only do like 80 or something. So we'll fix that at the end. So right now, you know, we're recording. We are started with just the chords. We come in with the bass, the pad, and the stomp, and now we bring our drums in, and now we start to further create movement. You know, now I could go through and start to turn off one thing at a time, and that starts to create that movement inside of a beat. these are all cue points for the artist, whoever is on the song, to have some understanding of where their verses are going to go, where everything is going to go, you know. And then we do a lot with feel, you know, how does it feel? I don't really watch the time, but what I've noticed is that I've made beats so long that it doesn't matter the BPM. Around the same time, I always make certain changes in my beats because I've been just doing this for a long time. And so right now we have all the sounds on. We're going to cut back off. We turn the stomp off. You know, we're just going to walk through it one time. We're going to create a drop off, and we creating that filling. You know, I did want to say, make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment. Make sure you check out the masterclass. If you got a skinny MPC, you can go grab all of my machine expansions that I created, plus some other expansions I created. You know, to give you, it's over 20 expansions. You can get all kinds of different sounds and different styles for pretty cheap. You know, I don't use the software at all. I probably haven't opened the MPC software maybe one time in 2024. I definitely prefer to use the MPC hardware. I like the limitations of it, and I like just being focused on what I'm trying to do. I like the sound of it. I like how the MPC computer focuses on creating how it processes the music. It processes the music a little bit differently. You know, your computer is processing the OS and the clock and Microsoft Windows and, you know what I mean, maybe your iMac, Chrome, all this other stuff that's happening in the background. The MPC is surely focused on just giving you the best sound and processing the best sound in real time. And I like that. I like to kind of know what I'm getting. One of the things you get with the computer is whatever you're making, once you mix it down, it always sounds a little bit different, you know, because everything is in the memory for the most part, or it's the computer trying to give you what it thinks a printed version of that sound will sound like. One thing I like about the MPC is we don't ever really have to go through that. You know, with the plugins, you get a little bit of a loss, but not too much. If you guys watch my other videos, it's just because the MPC has released the stems, they've released the soft clipper. There's a lot of different things. Guys keep messaging me on Twitter, on Facebook, on IG. You can follow me at all those places at 365 O.T.G. They keep messaging me there, asking me to just help them out with the MPC by itself. So you can see in slot 1, I put the soft clipper. In slot 4, I put the emulation of the MPC 60. In slot 2, I'm going to put the 4-band EQ. You know, I'm going to add a little in the highs, a little bit in the mids, a little in the lows. And I'm not going to go too far on the mix and the video, but I tend to do all my mixing and volume at the end. You know what I mean? Like, I try to make the beat straight through. But back to what I was saying. Guys have been asking for me to just create some videos straight off the MPC by itself. But usually I use my MPCs as an instrument, and then I record them into the Force. And then I arrange my beats with the audio clips inside of the Force. You know, I utilize the arranger, and then I transfer it over to Ableton and Live, and from there, you know, we may do some other work inside of Ableton if it needs it. But the MPC itself is definitely a all-in-one machine. It's a doll in a box. And for anybody who tells you anything different, you know what I mean, that's on them. But if you listening to me, I'm going to tell you it's a doll in a box. It's a digital audio workstation in a box. You can get everything done. I have a mic plugged in the back, so if I wanted to record a whole verse or a song, we could do that. I have videos on recording songs in the MPC and the live too. Let me know if you want to see more about that. But we here, guys. We made a whole beat. I talked through most of it. Hopefully you found some value. Hopefully you learned some things. Like I said, I'm going to up the tempo with the beats and the videos. You can get this at Patreon and Gumroad. It's your brother O.T.G.